There is a song you have heard before. Perhaps it played through a car radio on a summer night, or drifted from a restaurant speaker when you weren't paying attention.
I'd pick you up, I'd take you into the night.
You may not have known the name of the man who sang it. Most people didn't. But Benny Mardones, born Ruben Armand Mardones in Cleveland, Ohio, on November 9, 1946, poured a lifetime of longing, loss, and hard-won compassion into those 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That is his story, and it is far more complex than any radio hit could contain. His mother was American. His father, Ruben Mardones Sr., was Chilean, born in Santiago, a world away. From infancy, Benny was told his father had died when he was just 7 months old. For a decade, that lie held. Then, in September 1956, something changed the course of a 10-year-old boy's life. Elvis Presley appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show, and young Benny Mardones watched with the kind of certainty that comes only once in a childhood. He would become a singer. He was naturally gifted, drawn to instruments, language, and the architecture of songs and poems. But by 14, a different obsession had taken hold. He began asking his family about his father, pressing with the relentless persistence of a teenager who sensed he had been lied to. Finally, his grandmother relented and told him the truth. His father had not died. He had simply left, vanishing before Benny's first birthday, for reasons no one had ever explained. No letters, no contact, nothing. The revelation struck the boy like a physical blow. Depression settled over him. His grandmother, unwilling to let him be consumed by it, offered what comfort she could. His father had been warm and gregarious, the kind of man who lit up every room he entered. Perhaps, she said, they would hear from him again someday. Meanwhile, Benny's domestic life offered no refuge. His mother had remarried a violent man, one who directed his cruelty at both Benny and his sister Louise. Home became a place to escape, not to live in. He spent his youth in Savage, Maryland, moving through elementary and high school with one eye on the door. Have you ever been lied to by someone you trusted completely? About something that defined who you were? Tell us in the comments. What Benny discovered next didn't just reshape his identity, it nearly broke him in two. Graduation brought liberation from the abusive household, and Benny enlisted in the Navy. The military sent him to Vietnam, where he nearly died. In 1967, at age 20, he survived an explosion that tore into his arms and legs and robbed him of most of his vision. He was airlifted to a hospital in Boston, where months of intensive rehabilitation slowly rebuilt what the blast had destroyed. Against considerable odds, his sight was restored. He emerged from that hospital a different man, one who had survived 2 abandonments, a violent household, and a war zone. What remained was the dream he had carried since first seeing Elvis on a black-and-white television screen. He gathered what he had left and moved to New York City. What followed was years of movement, traveling across the country with various bands, accumulating experience, refusing to stop. During this period, Benny kept a private ritual that revealed the depth of his unresolved wound. In every city he passed through, he opened the local phone book and looked for the name Mardones. He never found it. The reunion, when it finally came, arrived not through any deliberate search but by sheer coincidence. In 1969, Benny was dining with his girlfriend at an upscale restaurant in Washington, D.C. At the table next to them, 2 men mentioned the name Ruben Mardones. His girlfriend heard it. She heard it again. She stood up and confronted them. The men turned out to be his father's business associates, partners in a leather import operation based in the same city. At 22, Benny Mardones met his father for the first time in his life. From the moment we saw each other, we immediately recognized each other. I didn't blame him for anything. I just told him I loved him. What he learned about Ruben Mardones Sr. was extraordinary. His father had left Santiago in 1941, not out of cowardice, but to fight the Nazis in Europe. He had served in France and Africa, where a serious injury eventually forced his evacuation for treatment. The parallel to Benny's own experience in Vietnam, wounded in war, evacuated and rebuilt, was almost too symmetrical to accept. Ruben brought 3 children from Chile to meet their half-brother, Pamela, Ruben, and Patricio. Benny welcomed them with his characteristic warmth. His siblings tried to teach him Spanish. According to his sister Pamela, the only phrase that stuck was "Te amo," I love you, which he repeated to everyone he met. Father and son kept their bond alive through letters and phone calls after Ruben returned to Chile. It was incomplete, imperfect, and late, yet it was real. Reinvigorated, Benny and his band, the Hurricanes, began playing at small venues. The income was insufficient, so he began knocking on record labels' doors. The door that opened belonged to Joel Diamond, president of CBS Publishing, who brought Benny in as a working professional, writing songs for established artists like Brenda Lee and Chubby Checker, and recording demos alongside his writing partner Alan Miles. It was anonymous, unglamorous work. It was also the environment in which Tommy Mottola, then working under Joel Diamond, and later to become Mariah Carey's ex-husband and eventually Thalia's husband, recognized Benny's singular gifts and urged him to pursue a solo career. In July 1970, Benny released his first single, Stand and Be Counted, on White Whale Records. The label, unconvinced that the name Mardones had commercial appeal, released it under the alias Troy. It failed to chart. From 1972 to 1977, Benny drifted, forming a band called Justice, touring as the opening act for folk rock artist Richie Havens, and eventually opening for Dave Mason and Peter Frampton at Madison Square Garden. Those performances caught the ear of Andrew Loog Oldham, producer of the Rolling Stones' first 17 albums. Oldham offered a recording contract. In 1979, the debut album, Thank God for Girls, was released on Private Stock Records but failed to find an audience. Through his friend Bill McGathy, who had just taken over at Polydor Records, Benny secured a new deal, and with new writing partner Robert Tepper, began work on the songs that would change everything. At the beginning of 1980, Benny and Robert Tepper were writing material for Benny's second album. A 16-year-old Puerto Rican girl named Heidi, who lived in the same building, knocked on the door to return the dog she had been paid to walk. She left. Robert watched her leave and remarked on her appearance. Benny turned to him and said, "She's only 16. Leave her alone." Then Benny told Robert what he knew about Heidi's story, that her father had abandoned the family, leaving a girl to navigate the world without him. As the two men talked, a song began to take shape from the wreckage of their conversation. The first line was exactly what Benny had just said aloud. That night, they finished writing Into the Night.
She's just 16 years old. Leave her alone. I'd pick you up. I'd take you into the night.
Released in June 1980, the song's rise was complicated before it became inevitable. Several radio stations refused to play it, interpreting the lyrics as romanticizing an adult man's interest in a minor. The record label responded by sending explanatory letters directly to stations, and Benny shared Heidi's real story in multiple interviews. Once the context was understood, the song moved with extraordinary force. Heidi herself achieved a measure of celebrity and, through the connections the song had made possible, eventually met and married a business magnate. Each Christmas, without fail, she sent Benny a card. Never Run, Never Hide, the album containing the song, saw the single Into the Night peak at number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and remain on the chart for 20 consecutive weeks, earning platinum certification. Benny Mardones had finally arrived. Millions of people have a memory tied to that song, yet most don't know what it truly cost the man who sang it. Because what fame gave Benny Mardones with one hand, it was already preparing to take back with the other. And it would do so with a brutality no platinum record could cushion. fame is rarely what its recipients imagine it will be. For Benny Mardones, the money and recognition that came with overnight stardom arrived with the full weight of the demons he had carried since adolescence. He began drinking heavily, downing an entire bottle of whiskey every night. Cocaine followed. He would later describe the period with painful clarity. The years of success were like a roller coaster. They say a hit song can cure cancer, but it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, I felt like a champion. On the other, I had enormous demons I couldn't face. His third album, Too Much to Lose, released in 1981, sold poorly. He began to miss shows, cancel interviews, and neglect obligations. His record label, Polydor, dropped him. The public moved on. For years, Benny Mardones lived in obscurity, still consuming cocaine and alcohol at levels that quietly destroyed him. In 1985, a child was born. His name was Michael, and he was Benny's son. The boy's arrival forced a reckoning that no amount of professional failure or personal humiliation had brought about. Benny looked at his child and realized that the example he had set would harm rather than guide. That same year, he quit cocaine and alcohol and moved to Syracuse, New York, where he would quietly rebuild his life and musical career in the years that followed. The willpower required was considerable. He held on. Benny attempted a commercial comeback, but the story might have ended there. A cautionary tale about a single hit and a wasted decade. Think about that for a moment. A man who survived a war, found his long-lost father, and wrote one of his generation's most beloved songs, reduced to silence and obscurity by age 40. Have you ever seen someone fall that far, that fast? What happened next is the part of Benny's story that no one talks about. In 1989, KQLZ, a radio station in Arizona, featured Benny in a Where Are They Now segment. The most popular listener question was, whatever happened to the man who sang into the night? Scott Shannon, then program director at Pirate Radio in Los Angeles, heard the response and added the song back into rotation. Station after station followed suit. The wave built on itself. The song re-entered the Billboard Hot 100, climbing to the 20th position and remaining on the chart for an additional 17 weeks. Combined with its original run, the track had now spent 37 non-consecutive weeks on the Hot 100, a distinction that placed Benny among a rare handful of artists in chart history to achieve 2 separate top 20 runs with the same song. On February 24, 1990, Benny was invited to perform at a Showtime tribute concert honoring Roy Orbison, held at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles, sharing the bill with luminaries including Bob Dylan, John Fogerty, Johnny Cash, and K.D. Lang, with Elvis Presley's former band serving as the house band. When Benny walked on stage and sang Orbison's Running Scared, few in the audience knew his name. He received a standing ovation when he finished. The man who had been dropped by his label and forgotten by the industry stood before an audience once more. The song had outlasted the silence. In 2000, Benny Mardones was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. His output, both recorded and live, gradually declined over the years. The illness was progressive and relentless. In 2010, he attended a private gathering at his physician's home. At some point during the evening, he sat at the piano and played Into the Night. Among the guests was Jane Bramer, a woman originally from Denmark who owned a restaurant and an art gallery. She recognized the melody but not the performer. Her curiosity prompted her to introduce herself. A relationship began. As Benny's condition worsened, Jane eventually closed both of her businesses to devote herself fully to his care. On October 4, 2011, they married. She became his companion, caregiver, and anchor. The following year brought grief from Chile. Benny's father, Ruben Mardones Sr., fell gravely ill. Though Benny's own health kept him from traveling, he spoke with his father by phone in the final days. When Ruben died, Benny reflected quietly, "I think his lifestyle finally caught up with him, just like mine did. We were both bohemians. When he died, it broke my heart. In his final years, supported by Jane, his son Michael, and his sister Louise, Benny remained connected to music. A video from his 2017 birthday celebration shows guests singing to him as he is visibly moved to tears, a testament to a sensitivity he had since childhood, when a grandmother's words about a missing father were enough to keep a wounded boy from losing hope. He carried one remaining wish: to visit Chile, to walk through Santiago, the city his father had left in 1941 to fight a war on another continent. He spoke of it with an ache that was intimate and specific. When I land in Santiago, I'll feel like I'm home. It's something I need to do, something I'm missing. Is there a place in the world you've never been, yet it feels like it belongs to you anyway? A homeland you inherited through someone else's story? Leave it in the comments, because Benny Mardones carried that longing to his last breath. He never made the flight. Benny Mardones died peacefully at his home in Menifee, California, on June 29, 2020, from complications of Parkinson's disease, with Jane by his side. He was 73. In accordance with his explicit wishes, his body was donated to scientific research, specifically to advance understanding of Parkinson's disease and spare future patients the suffering he endured. The family's statement read, in part, Benny's final wish and ultimate gift was to donate his body to advanced medical research and Parkinson's education. What Benny Mardones left behind cannot be reduced to a chart position or a platinum record, though both are documented. He left the account of a man who searched every phone book in every city he passed through, seeking a father he had been told was dead. He left the record of a soldier who rebuilt himself after a war nearly took everything. He left the example of a person with an addiction who found in his son's face a reason no amount of desperation had offered before. And he left a song, written in one night, born of a 16-year-old girl's story of paternal abandonment, initially rejected by radio stations and later embraced by millions, that returned to the charts 9 years after its first appearance, as if time itself had reconsidered. Into the Night Endures. So does the story of the man who, despite considerable evidence to the contrary, refused to stop believing that love was enough. If this story moved you, share it. Not for the numbers, but because Benny Mardones deserves to be known for more than 3 minutes and 40 seconds of airplay. And if you believe the forgotten chapters of music history are worth preserving, that the lives behind the songs matter as much as the songs themselves, then stay with us. Subscribe to this channel because the next story we tell may be the one you've been waiting your whole life to hear. Rest well, Benny.